Hi folks, I'm back from the RIPE-68 meeting in Warsaw in Poland, and boy, that was a week. And girls, that was a week as well. Of course, the general problems applied as usual. The double catastrophe as far as food is concerned, too much and too good. Actually, can't tell. But, well, a couple other things have happened that I found rather surprising. But, well, there were a number of nice talks, and I guess I should start with those. So, Monday we had a couple of tutorials. The one I was sitting in was on netconf and Yang, which are ITF developments as a replacement for SNMP. I found that, well, the tutorial was good, but I was disappointed by, well, netconf and Yang. Why is that? Because they still work at the individual device level. So it's all about just managing individual devices. And, well, SNMP does this as well, but I thought, well, maybe at some point in time somebody actually realizes, with people talking about software-defined networks, SDN and whatnot, that there might be something about dealing with things you have to deal with when you have multiple network devices. Because, you know, the one thing that's really ugly with network devices is if you have to do some update on several of them, and if you do it in the wrong sequence, you'll basically make some of your devices unreachable, or create an unnecessary long downtime or whatever. So I found that a bit disappointing. Again, the tutorial itself wasn't bad, but I'd hoped for more. If I had known that beforehand, I might have even gone to the IPFix tutorial, which is another ITF development, sort of a successor for NetFlow. Anyway, that was the tutorials. And in the plenary session in the afternoon, Geoff Houston of APNIC, the Asian Pacific Network Information Center, one of the 5 RIRs, regional IP registries, and so on, he talked about BGP in 2013, and there were a couple surprising facts he came up with. First off, we've all expected that with IPv4 addresses getting depleted and people buying and stealing and whatnot IPv4 addresses from everywhere, the growth in the BGP tables in the default free zone, where the big routers are that don't have a default route anywhere, the BGP routing tables would go up. And his measurement showed that that is not actually true. People, carriers, anybody running an autonomous system actually appear to kind of give up on IPv4. There was a bit of a rush when, well, we officially run out of IPv4 addresses, but it seems to slacken down. What I found even more surprising, that we have pretty much the same phenomenon with IPv6. And, well, the one explanation I have for why we have the numbers he's shown is that the majority of carriers, ISPs and so on, are either through with IPv6 on their network bound side or internet bound side, and the others, well, they won't realize until it hits them really hard, my guess. Anyway, that was Monday, the first day. Second day, Tuesday, we had an entire session in the plenary on IPv6, which, if I remember correctly, was the first time. And we had some very nice talks in there. We had Dave Wilson talking about what's wrong with IPv6, or what went wrong with IPv6. Actually, took notes so I can tell you and forget about anything. And that was a very interesting talk. I'm not 100% sure if I agree with him in every point, but I hadn't expected anybody at the RIPE community, at a RIPE meeting, come up with this sort of very, very big picture sort of talk. Well worth a look. And yes, I think he made a point, and a point that is probably going to hit a number of other people rather surprisingly. The other thing that was interesting at the Tuesday plenary was Jari Arko, who is some big shot, whatever, at the IETF, the Internet Engineering Task Force, who's been talking about pervasive monitoring. Basically, well, he probably wouldn't like me if I put it like this, but basically the IETF is taking a political stand and personal offense with regard to various so-called intelligence and security agencies snooping in everybody's communications all the time. There's probably quite a bit of stuff going on there. Anyway, Wednesday we had a working group session for the open source working group, and well, stuff was generally interesting, but what I found very nice was Shane Kerr talking on how people screwed up Point 10, basically what went wrong there, what sorts of problems they had and whatnot. Very interesting, and sure worth a look if you have a bit of time to spare. And Thursday, Thursday, 2 sessions worth of IPv6 for the IPv6 working group, and of course have to tell a bit more about that after all. First one was Helge Holz, a German. He's come up with a absolutely brilliant way how to deal with address allocations and how to visualize them and make it easier to handle. I've seen him present this before in Germany. He's German, I think twice. Very good stuff, and this was actually the first time he has done this in English. And yes, you kind of notice he was a bit nervous. Then there's another colleague I've had quite a heated discussion with in, I think, the IPv6 subs mailing list, Ragnar Anfinsen from Altibox in Norway. Those people who actually hooked up some remote village with gigabit to the home. So much about broadband initiatives in other parts of the world. And we had a discussion on if CPE devices, so customer premises equipment, the home routers, the Fritzboxes and Belkin route, whatever, should actually be shipped by default with some sort of packet filter enabled, such that they behave basically like a IPv4 NUT device or not. Okay, he presented what they've eventually decided to do. I'm still not 100% sure if I like it, but well, he does have his point, otherwise it wouldn't make any sense arguing with him anyway. And he has this habit of buying me more beer than is good for me. But Ragnar, if you watch this, I'll get back on this sometime. Okay, there's work on an update to RIPE-554, which is the recommendation on what to watch out for if you want to buy IPv6 capable equipment, which is a good thing. That was mostly Sander Stefan and Marco Hogewoning working on that, and Marieke Kael. I hope I pronounced that name right. So there is some more work going on there, and it might actually happen. I wasn't the only one to suggest that it might actually get split into multiple documents, because otherwise it might get too long and too unwieldy to use. We'll see. People are working on it. Yeah, and then there was something that I hadn't really anticipated. David Jones, I think, who's one of the 3 working group chairs or co-chairs, had resigned. And both Marco Hogewoning and Shane Kerr said that they'd consider resigning at some point in the future as well. So we needed new session chairs. And right afterwards, I found myself thinking, should I or shouldn't I? And talked to Shane, and he didn't exactly do a very good job to convince me not to do it. So, well, we'll see what happens. We now have kind of 4 volunteers. I'm not going to say candidates because this is really, there's so far apparently no voting. We'll see what we need to do this time, and somebody else might volunteer as well, but it would be fun. The RIPE community is cool, and the way they do things, it's quite nice. They just get things done. They're people who want to get things done, and they're good at it. So what do you expect? Okay, so that was something I hadn't expected. And then there was the Friday with the closing plenary. We had a first RIPE meeting. Well, not me, I wasn't around there and that sort of business at that time, 25 years ago. So there was a bit, well, of a not really celebration, but you know, people talking about all sorts of things. Rob Bloxile, who's been RIPE NCC chair for 25 years, resigned, passed on the job to Jens-Peter Holm. And yeah, that was all, well, what we had sort of expected, because Robert told us this was going to happen half a year ago. But then there's happened something that I absolutely hadn't expected. I mean, really hadn't expected. Randy Bush, who's always good for some surprise, gave a lightning talk on a new project called Cryptech, which is a project to build crypto hardware, open source, open hardware, whatever. And yeah, what was that surprising? So surprising for me, because you may have noticed in my lab, well, there, that I've been playing around with some electronic stuff, and actually what I've been working on for some time now was not crypto chip or anything like that, but a hardware random number generator. And I hadn't originally intended to even talk about this in public until it was up and running, seriously up and running. But with Wendy coming up with this, I thought, okay, better tell him, because they might actually have some use for what I've built. So to step up again and tell people, here's what I have. By the way, in case you wonder, current state of the affair looks like this. And the bigger part of this is this side here, which is just a step-up converter, because I need 12 volts and USB only gives me 5. And the smaller stuff is the actual noise generator. And next thing to do is connect it up to a microcontroller to extract some serious random bits out of the noise. This is analog noise really, and then pass it on to some sort of computer. That's what I'm working on. Problem there is, it's, if you ask people about it, either it's fairly trivial, it is in theory, or it's really difficult, which is true in practice. And worst of all, it's really tedious, because you want to test things with some reasonable test programs. You don't want to write that yourself, because you never test for the one thing you screw up anyway. So the test program I use is called Die Harder, which is really meant for pseudo-random number generators, not for slow hardware random number generators. And generating enough test data to run a test takes about a week or two, depending how fast you can make it generate output. And that makes it rather troublesome. But this is just so you know what I've been up to, and in case I all of a sudden vanish and never get seen again, you know, it's probably some sort of organization who thinks that this might be considered crypto, and crypto is basically, well, ABC weapon. So, well, not A weapon, not B weapon, but C, like crypto. So they made me vanish. I'm not really that paranoid, but anyway, I've talked about it already at the RIPE meeting, so might as well tell. This is what I'm currently working on. So with a bit of luck, I'll be showing you some more stuff on this in the next couple episodes, depending how I make progress with this. On Thursday and Friday this week, there'll be an IPv6 Congress here in Frankfurt. I have 2 talks on 2 completely unrelated topics, so I'll be rather busy there, but hopefully over the weekend I'll find time to either come up with some surprising news from the conference there, or with how this little thing works. Okay, hope you enjoyed this. I'll link all the videos I've mentioned in the blog and in the notes. And if you find some time to watch those, you might find interesting. They're probably all worth it. And in case you don't want to watch it, well, maybe at least you'll come back and watch me again. So much for today, so much about the RIPE meeting and my secret little project. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up on YouTube. And if you want to discuss, have suggestions, don't believe that hardware random number generators can actually work or whatever, come over to the forum at www.stepladder-it.com/BIVBlog/25. So we have 10th anniversary as well. And in any case, hopefully see you again, well, probably early next week. Bye.